Hello everyone, welcome to my corner of the world. Well, the time has come to do something about a closure for my junk journal. So over the last few weeks I've been on a journey designing, creating my junk journal. And I've got my pages, and I've done quite a lot of decorating using paper as well as some stamps and lace. I've been putting off doing the closure for a while, but now I've got to bite the bullet. So I was having several thoughts. So I've got some nice sort of neutral ribbons that I thought I would use these ribbons, and I'm thinking about using both of them because that just adds another level of texture in there. And I thought about using these brads and then sort of putting it through here, and then having the ribbon come through from sort of round the back and sort of just twirling it round. And then I kind of started thinking to myself, well, this here is only paper, and it might not be man enough, or woman enough for that matter, to actually take a brad. Now, one of the things I did was when I was starting to think about my closure, the paper, if you look, was a white background, and through no planning whatsoever on my part, everything in here sort of seems to be vanilla-y. So I took my dauber and some ink, and I've literally just toned down the paper and gave it a bit more vintage. And I've done the same for the pockets, and I've done the same for the edging. And I thought that what I would do is to put some of this paper. This is my last little bit of this paper. And I thought, well, if I put this paper and line it like that, that might be the best way to go, and then everything is kind of in sort of sync with like the vanillas and the light browns and everything. So that was my one thought. Now the other thing I've got to think about is the front, and I thought I would do a frame, and I've got some foil here, it's like copper, which I thought, okay, that goes quite nicely with everything else. And also it's just a little bit of the bling that I like to bring to my projects, because there's no other bling in here yet. So I just got these deckled rectangles, and I created a frame. And if you want to know how I did this frame, then if you go back to, I think it was video number 2 when I did this, then it explains how I created the frame. And then I started thinking again, I mean, it's dangerous, isn't it, when you start thinking that this might be a little bit too flimsy. So I cut a second frame out in some scrap card, and I'm just going to stick these two together just to give it a little bit more solidness, which I'm sure is a word somewhere, but I think you know what I'm trying to say. I just need it to be a little bit more firm. I can just line up all the edges like that. There we go. and I'll just set that aside for a minute to finish drying. So if I put this on my journal here, so I've got to decide if I'm going to put it toward the top or toward the bottom, because I'm going to be putting something in there. I'm not quite sure quite what I'm going to put in there just yet, but I will be putting something in there. So that means that if I use a brad, even if I use one of the smaller brads, it would be sort of quite close here, like that. And I'm a bit concerned that that might be a bit too close to the edge. So then my next thought was, well, why don't I just put an eyelet back and front and put some ribbon through the eyelets and just tie it up. So I think the first thing I need to do is to put the liner in, just to make sure that that's, so that needs to be about five, well, that's by 8, but that's not 8, is it? No, that's 7.5. So let's get, so we need 5. So we'll just trim a bit off here. So I flip that round and just cut that at 5. I'll just cut that, although that probably will be inside, so we're not going to worry about that. So then let's do this at 5, and then I've got my 2 pieces. And 1 tiny little scrap left. So I think I've made the absolute most of that paper that I found in my stash. See, look, I've used it all in various places. So it kind of continues the theme throughout the journal, despite the fact that we didn't start with a theme in the first place. So it just shows you, didn't it, what magic can happen when you, so I need to do like that. It needs to, and I need to trim a tiny bit off there. Or do I? Right. So you have to bear with me while I do some, just take some of this rawness off. There. I'll just do a little bit there. And see where this takes us. I guess if I'd thought about it before I started, I would have chosen maybe a more vintagey looking paper. But, you know, as I said, it's kind of developed as I've gone along, because it was more about the process than the finished item, I suppose, for my peace of mind anyway. Right, so I've just taken that and we're just going to tuck that in there. I think I need to run my dauber here. To take some of that sparseness there. So as I say, really, once I've got my cover, my closure and my cover done, it's just a case of doing a few sort of interior embellishments, And then I'm finished. Gosh, I've no idea how many videos we've done. So it will come as a very pleasant surprise, I'm sure, when I look back, because you know, I'm thinking that I must have at least a dozen, maybe more. So I'm really happy. And I suppose, you know, I could have done less videos, but I wanted to just keep them as short as I could. You know, sort of maybe a half an hour at the most. And I think I've managed to do that, because I don't know about you, sometimes I do get a bit antsy when things are taking a bit too long, you know, if I'm watching something. That was why I was no good watching when the Lord of the Rings movies. Oh, dearie me. That was probably one of the most expensive naps I've ever had. My husband and I went to see the first one, and within 20 minutes I was asleep. But they just lasted so long, just so long. So that's quite good. That's looking quite good. Right, so now the engineer in me has to find the middle. I'm sorry, I can't not find the middle. Let's see, we need, oh, that'll do. So it's 8.5, so 4 1/4. So 4 1/4, where's my little doohickey thing? Yeah, no, I want to put it in the center here. So 4 1/4, 4 1/4. So 4 1/4 there is there. And that is, and I don't think it matters, it's got to be the same both sides, to be honest. So that's a 1/2 inch in. So that's a 1/2 inch in at 4 1/4. There. So to get this ribbon in, I'm going to be using the big hole. There it is there. I think this will fit the big hole. Will that go in there like that? I think so. I think those are the big ones. Or are these the big ones? These look bigger, don't they? Yeah, that's the size. That's the size I want. And then these are kind of got a bit of a vintage look on them, so I can use those. Right. Okay. In we go. You've got to be brave, Sind. So I'm just going to line up my little dot with the center of my punched hole. And I put the eyelet in, and oh, you've got to stay in. That's the whole point. You've got to stay in. So maybe I need to get, I'm not quite sure. Right. So that needs to go in like that, and squeeze. Ooh, neat. So let's try the other side. And then put t'other one in. Right. Let's do that. And squeeze. Right. So there we have that. So let's do this. Right. I'm going to be super generous with my ribbon. So I'm just going to pop the loop through the eyelet, and then like that. So that gives me that bit. And then with any luck at all, this will go in. I'm going to use some ribbon scissors for this, because those scissors aren't going to do the job. And I have to fold this like this and pop it in like that. And then just gently ease this. And now, let's clear the decks. I can actually do this. And I've got lots of ribbon, so as this fills up and becomes thicker, I then have got plenty of ribbon to cinch round it. So, well, that was easier than I thought it was going to be. Oh, that's not bad. 17 minutes. So I've got this. This is nice and dry now. So that's going to sort of be my front piece. And I want to have be able to put something behind it, but I'm not quite sure what just yet. And then I've got this. Maybe I can decorate this. I wonder if I should put some of this down here, because that's looking a little bit plain. Or I've got some tea-dyed broderie anglais, but then that edge is a bit yucky. Well, not yucky, but it's a bit too... Actually, that looks quite nice, but then this piece is exposed. But okay, let's do this. I'm going to do this. Let's put this like that, because that is now giving me even more strength, because I'm very aware that the cover hasn't really got an awful lot of thickness, because it's just thick paper, and I find that a bit concerning, particularly if this is going to be pulled in and out of my bag, and then I keep on shoving stuff into it. I think that I might find that it starts to wear. Right. Let's give that a good old thingy. Right, that's that. And what do you think? And if I put that on the front, I think I'm well and truly finished with that then, don't you? So I've got some, this is Fabri-Tac. This is supposed to be the thing for using with fabric, and I used it when I put let's see, I used it when I added that pinky lace the other day. So if I do that, and that kind of adds a little bit more shabbiness, doesn't it, with the raw edge. Hopefully that will dry because it's showing through. And we'll just put a bead down there. And then what I might do is see how much of this I've got, if I've got any left. And maybe I'll put a little bit or 2 or 3 just inside to bring it all together. It looks like I have got some left. Right. So we'll get this stuck on, and then we'll call this a day for this particular video. And then we'll look at making some embellishments. I've got a thing, an idea to maybe make some postage stamps, and then to make some tags and another term I've learned, clusters. So we'll be exploring clusters together. So I think I need to leave that to dry for now. I've got this left, so maybe I'll do a little bit of that inside just to pull the theme through. And that's the front. And I'll find something to make for my centerpiece there. Okay, well, I hope you've enjoyed this. I've certainly enjoyed working my way through the idea for my closure and decorating my front. If you have, perhaps you'll go ahead, give me a thumbs up. If you've got any comments or questions, you can always pop them below, and I'd love to read them and answer any questions that you may have. I'd like to thank you once again for taking the time to spend a little bit of time with me today. And I'll look forward to seeing you next time when we'll be working on some bits to put in my junk journal. Thank you, and bye-bye for now.